we will be discussing about farmer producer organizations and their role in creating forward and backward linkages for natural farming, farmers who are shifting towards natural farming. I work with Center for Sustainable Agriculture, which is based out of Hyderabad. We work on agroecology, promoting sustainable livelihoods, community enterprises, and public policy. In Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra, we work with nearly about 60 farmer producer organizations, and we also support 150 FPOs in these states as a resource organization. In all, we work with nearly about 1 lakh farmers, in which 40,000 farmers have shifted towards organic natural farming, and 60,000 are in the process of shifting towards good agriculture practices and non-pesticidal management, which is basically growing crops without using pesticides. So we provide extension and advisory services and business development for these farmers. We are also a resource organization for PGS organic certification. We provide small group certification, a group of small farmers of 10 to 15 farmers as a group. There are 3,207 groups are registered, and nearly 51,000 farmers are part of these groups, covering about 45,000 hectares. And we also provide our large area certification, where the entire village, even they transit towards organic and natural farming, with the certification is given at the village level. And 110 villages with 10,500 farmers covering 65,000 hectares is what is brought under large area certification. This area is completely in Chhattisgarh. So with this, I'll be sharing my experiences in terms of how farmers can be collectivized and linked to the markets, and various examples which we see. So whenever we talk about natural farming, we also need to make a plan of transition, how farmers gradually transit towards completely into natural farming at a farm level, at an individual level, also at a group level. So in a village, how all the farmers can make a transition. We are looking at most of the farmers in the village, when they are using chemicals, managing organic or natural farming with 1 or 2 individual farmers becomes extremely difficult. So one of the strategy we always adopt is to look at how all the farmers can move towards good agriculture practices, where most harmful pesticides can be stopped, and then fertilizer use can be reduced annually by over 50%. That's the good agriculture practices we start with. Then we get into non-pesticidal management, where crops can be grown without using pesticides and herbicides and GMOs. And from there, transiting towards organic and natural farming becomes much easier. So it's a process of 2 to 3 years time when people can understand and make a transition. And different markets also has different quality requirements. So we follow PGS organic certification for local markets, India organic certification for some domestic market, and international market. And with the changes happening in the recent past, we need to have the national certifications of this country to which we are exporting also. So if you are exporting for Europe, we need European Union certification. USDA has USDA certification. So like that, every country has its own standards of certification. And this certification system also becomes very important, because it has to be managed at a collective level. And we have large number of small and marginal farmers. Also, in terms of institutionalizing the process, we need to think about what model of certification, where we are going to sell right in the beginning itself, because that forms the basis on which you actually build the organization. We also need to see how we comply with the regulatory market. So in the organic, to sell products in the market as organic in the country, we have mandatory certification system under Food Safety Standards Authority of India. You cannot sell any food in the market as organic unless it is certified under NPOP or PGS India standards. We have the third set of standards which are coming up, which is called as the natural farming standards. And the natural farming certification standards are yet to be rolled out, but when the farmers can sell directly to the consumers, they are exempted from any of these certification, but they can follow natural farming certification. And under FSSA also, there are exceptions for the organic certification rules. And farmers can sell directly to the consumers up to 12 lakh rupees. Small traders and aggregators can sell up to 50 lakh rupees aggregated without any certification. So here it becomes much easier when your small numbers of the farmers are shifting towards organic and natural farming. Farmers can sell directly, and they can also collectivize, and the small producer groups can sell directly up to 50 lakh rupees without any certification. But beyond that, they need certification. So that's where actually the role of FPOs comes in. In addition to the quality management, the farmers needs a lot of support services for making the transition. So extension and advisory services, credit, access to inputs, custom hiring services, because machines may not be bought by every individual farmers, And there are a lot of government support schemes, so access to entitlements. And to reach out to the market, we need certification, as I mentioned already, and business development models at the group level, and infrastructure facilities, market linkages, and legal compliances. All these support services are needed by the farmers. So to provide these support services, the best way is to farmer producer organization. And farmer producer organization is a legal entity by the primary producers. So they could be farmers, milk producers, fishermen, weavers, rural artisans, craftsmen, any producer where the primary producer can come together and they can form into an organization which is a legal entity, and it can be registered as a cooperative society, or it can be registered as a producer company or any other form. So there could be many legal forms in which these farmer producer organizations can be registered. And the key promoting organizations today in the country are NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development; SFAC, which is a Small Farmers Agribusiness Consortium; NCDC, which is National Cooperative Development Corporation; NAFED, which is National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India; NRLM, which is National Rural Livelihoods Mission; and Department of Agriculture, Horticulture and Animal Husbandry. So many more agencies are now into organizing communities into farmer producer organizations. So if any farmers or any department or any NGO want to organize their farmers into a collective, they can approach any of these organizations, because there are some funding support also is available for initial 2 to 3 years time, so that you can establish yourself easily. When it comes to the design of the FPO, it becomes very important to have a good design. If the design is not good, we cannot manage the institutions. So the way we operate with our farmers is we take the livelihood portfolio in the village. So there could be farmers who are into crop production, growing grains, vegetables or cotton or any other crop. And there are farmers who are into livestock, poultry, sheep and goat, fisheries, etc. And we also identify some farmers who can become entrepreneurs in terms of producing inputs, so like seeds, bio inputs like compost, biofertilizers, botanical pesticides, fodder, feed, etc. And we also identify farmers and rural youth who can take up value addition and non-farm activities like soap making or any other thing. So these are the livelihood portfolios of the farmers. They are grouped into small groups, and these groups can be PGS groups, so which is for organic certification or natural farming certification. So the group becomes very important, because group becomes the primary entity at which planning and execution happens. Then for marketing, it's good to have commodity groups, because these commodities may vary season by season. Say in a particular season, all tomato farmers can come together, all dairy farmers can come together, kind of thing. Because quality specifications, market linkages, input practices are all linked to the commodities. So we also form commodity groups, but these are transitory groups, not a permanent groups. PGS groups are more permanent groups. And we also have livelihood groups, so who are taking up food production or value addition, those kind of. And at the institutional level, so these farmers are the shareholders. For management, we have a board of directors. So board of directors' responsibility is to manage the entire producer organization. They will also have staff, a CEO and an accountant. Board of directors' involvement in daily governance is through subcommittees. So we form 4 subcommittees. One is on quality management, second is on procurement, and third is marketing, and fourth is the finance. So this subcommittee works with the staff and member farmers, so that these activities can be taken up with the main objective of strengthening the existing production systems, how the existing production system can be increased, how a better planning can be done, and then how do we increase livelihood opportunities and create forward and backward linkages. For governance, the board meets once in a year. This is a general body, all members meet once in a year. And we have executive committee, like I mentioned earlier, and this is an optional body for a better management. It meets every month. And in this every month, they discuss about the plan for the month and review the plans of the last month. And they work with the FPO staff and the CEO and manager, and plans are made, progress is reviewed. For every activity which FPO carries out, we also plan for having community resource persons. From the community and local entrepreneurs, we pick up people, and they provide the support roles in terms of extension, quality management, procurement and inputs. So these are the key support services which are required at the FPO level. And each FPO to run also needs some support, because FPO cannot run on its own. So what we try to do is to get all the support services aggregated and provide to the FPO. So these support services are provided by FPO Hub. So we have extension services, we have rural enterprises, so how to farm, and then what is viable in a particular situation depending on the resources people have, input services, natural resource management. So the natural resources like water, soil, forest, how do they manage, even common property resources, how they can be managed, quality assurance services, legal services, because once you get into the market, you need a lot of licenses, and then legal compliances becomes very, very critical. So how FPOs can do it timely and efficiently is what we look for. Similarly, financial services, access to government services, markets, and digital data management, etc. So all these support services makes the FPO more efficient and operate. So instead of having an FPO as an isolation, we can have a federated model of FPOs which can work better. And we need to also look at the supply chain and how the supply chain can be built so that we can access better markets. Currently, farmer sells to the village commission agent, and village commission agent sells to the market commission agent, and then from there it goes to the wholesaler, sub-wholesaler, and to the retailers. So retailer could be store wala, or it could be a neighborhood grocery store or a cart vendor. In the recent past, we are also have seeing that modern retail and startup supply chain has come in, where they directly source from the farmers and by setting up collection centers and then supply to the retailers. But in both the processes, the share of farmers is very low. In the consumer's price, farmer share is less than 20%. So that's where actually FPOs comes into the picture. We can set up collection centers at the village level or at an FPO level. FPOs can procure directly, grade it, and then send it to the distribution center. And both at the collection level, the distribution center sends directly to the consumers or to the retailers. And the grade B, grade C products which are at the FPO level, collection center level, or at the distribution center level can be value added. So we can do solar drying, we can do pickles, we can do pulping. So these three kinds of value addition can be done. So most of the costs of operations can be recovered by this value addition, and raw produce can be sold at a better price to the consumers. So these are the type of collection centers which we have. At the farmers level, we collect at the collection center, and at the distribution center, we sort out store wise or buyer wise and then distribute to the buyers. And for the raw produce, particularly like grains where we need more value addition and more storage, we try to bring in entrepreneurs or food hubs which has the processing and storage facilities. So farmers get support at the collection centers level or farmer service centers level where they can sell, and from there it moves to the primary processing, value addition, and logistics are provided to sell to the buyers. Here, food hubs or the processing facilities, primary processing units can also be owned by the FPOs. So we work with FPOs which also run these processing facilities, but we also work with the entrepreneurs who can do this. And here one of the learning we have is that at FPO level, wherever primary processing or value addition centers are set up, they are not used for the full time. So 20-30% of the time is only they are used, rest of the time they are remaining vacant. Also, getting people who are specialized in doing the processing is also very difficult if the operations are very low. So best way is to partner with the local entrepreneurs who can actually set up these units. So a kind of mechanism, depending on the volumes of produce available and the capital available, we can plan the kind of infrastructure which is required. In terms of advantages of having an FPO, before an FPO is formed, if say tur dal is sold at 90 rupees for a consumer, farmer share is only about 40 rupees. 10 rupees goes to the commission agent, the miller gets 17 rupees, wholesaler gets 10 rupees, and retailer gets 13 rupees. And then after an FPO is formed, farmers and producer groups can aggregate themselves. So farmer share can increase from 40 rupees to 53 rupees. If the FPO itself owns the processing facility, the cost which is spent on value addition is about 14 rupees, wholesaler share of 10 rupees and retailer share of 13 rupees is spent, and 90 rupees at the same price product can be sold. So farmer share can be increased to 53 rupees from 40 rupees by moving towards an FPO. And if they are moving towards organic, the price of the product output also can be increased to say 120 rupees. So instead of selling at 90 rupees, you can sell at 120 rupees. Since the movement of organic produce will be lower, retailers expect a better margin. So from 13 rupees, the retailer may expect about 20 to 24 rupees as the margin. Since the price is increased, farmer share can also get increased. So from 53 rupees, farmer can get up to 60 rupees, and the cost of milling, cost of aggregation, etc. is same. Additional cost of certification and aggregation can be spent. So with the same process of same set of shares which is given to the consumers, farmers can still get a better price. And we worked out for every commodity the price split, cost split like this, and depending on whether the farmer can get benefit by selling raw produce or a value added produce in bulk or in retail, decisions are taken at the FPO level. So we also work with bulk buyers. PGS farmers are connected to the temples in Andhra Pradesh. Last season 2021, we supplied nearly 1,306 metric tons of Bengal gram to the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam for making the laddu, which is a prasadam, and 608 farmers, natural farmers who are certified, and 401 farmers received 10% premium price for their product. And when we actually did the residue analysis, 99% of the sample showed residue free. And 2022-23, we made a plan of supplying 12 commodities from 20 districts to 11 temples in Andhra Pradesh. And they include rice, Bengal gram, black gram, red gram, jaggery, groundnut, black pepper, etc. And the volume is around 31,000 metric tons this season. And we are also trying to reach out to about 2.5 lakh farmers by end of this year. So this way, organic and natural farmers, if they collectivize, reaching out to bulk markets also makes sense, because farmers can get better price. In addition to working with bulk buyers, our farmer cooperatives which are into organic natural farming also sells directly to the consumers through retail stores owned by the farmer producer organizations, and these are selling under the brand name of Sahaja Aharam. We also have mobile stores where the van goes to different localities every week and then sell the product. And we have a mobile application also where consumers can order. For the FPOs and farmer groups to sell directly to the consumers, we also have designed small vans which are fresh fruits and vegetables which they can sell directly to the consumers. So there are different designs which were made for this thing. And infrastructure facilities wise, instead of every FPO having the facility, we have created common facilities as food processing hub, where processing, packing facilities are created. FPOs can use these facilities so that they can sell the final produce to the consumers. So storage and processing facilities are created. So this is one of a farmer cooperative called Harita Farmers Cooperative, which is a fully organic cooperative in Vizianagaram, where this facility is available. For fresh fruits and vegetables, we also may need additional facilities like for value addition, like solar dryers. For onions, we need storage facility. So these are also set up using the solar power. Secondary processing, ready to eat products are also produced in the FPOs. So some of the women farmers are trained in terms of producing these value added products, and they also can be packed and then sold to the same supply chain. So once you have an FPO, different production systems can be brought in. These value addition activities can bring in more opportunities for the rural people. So in terms of taking FPOs forward, there are several support services available from the government. Currently, the government of India is having a large program to set up 10,000 FPOs next year. So by 23-24, government of India wants to establish nearly 10,000 FPOs, and they will be supported for the next 5 years. And in this, 1,000 FPOs are going to be organic or natural farming. So there is an opportunity to use these resources to build these ones. And the key features of this program is about for formation and support. There is a cluster-based business organizations are identified. NGOs or the business organizations are identified which supports these FPOs. So 4 to 5 FPOs get support from one CBBO. These CBBOs will have a detailed plan of action for the next 5 years, and the main focus is on the aspirational districts, and now spread to every district. And at the national level, there is a National Project Management Agency established at the SFAC which supports. And the kind of support available is for an FPO, 3 years grant of 18 lakhs, released 6 lakhs per year is available to manage the cost of the human resources for the CEO and then accountant. And equity grant is also available. FPO with minimum farmer of 300 is eligible for the scheme. And in the northeastern and hilly regions, it's about 100, the eligibility. The matching grant up to 2,000 rupees for each farmer with maximum ceiling of 15 lakhs is allowed under this equity grant. So in 2-3 spells, an FPO can get the equity grant. And to increase the access for the working capital through bank loans, credit guarantee for a project loan about above 1 crore up to 2 crores, credit guarantee is given. So the credit guarantee is given by the SFSC and NABARD. So nearly about 85% of the credit can be covered under this credit guarantee. And there are also other schemes which are available in terms of convergence with the various ongoing state and national level schemes. And NAFED is also using the purchase support scheme, which they through the FPOs. And we can also use FPOs for procurement operations by the FCI and state governments under the minimum support prices. And Government of India also has started something called as an agricultural infrastructure fund, which is available for farmers, rural entrepreneurs and FPOs. Up to 2 crore rupees with an interest subvention of 3% per annum, we can get a loan, and about 35% subsidy is available for these things. There is also a moratorium for about 2 years. So 2 years you don't need to pay, and then after that you can actually start repaying. So if you can develop a good business plan, it can be used, and then you can develop good infrastructure facility. But an FPO needs a good plan in terms of where we are going to sell, which is very, very critical. If you are selling in the local market, the market is mainly for the staple food. And if you are selling in the domestic urban market, large market is for fresh fruits and vegetables. And if you are selling in the international market, it's largely dairy and other products which are, and value added products which has a global market. So where you want to sell, based on that you can make a plan. And similarly, different markets also different legal requirements, and then different premiums, different competition. So based on that, the planning needs to be done. For an FPO, we need to have a 3 to 5 years strategy, where you can plan for setting up the FPO in the first 2 years, and then trying to figure out what is the growing phase, and then where FPO strength lies and which kind of markets we access. And then from there you can actually get into a matured stage where after 5 years FPO can manage on its own. Right from the first year, if the plan is not clear, after 5 years sustaining FPOs becomes very, very difficult. So we made an exercise and how much expenses are required to manage an FPO. It comes to nearly about 8 lakh rupees per year. 7 to 8 lakh rupees per FPO is what the expenditure is. So if you want to have this kind of 7 lakh rupees per year, one of the things we need to look at is how do we raise this? How do we raise these resources? So when we are trying to look at these resources, to raise about say 7 lakh rupees per year, we may need to have about at least 1 crore business with about 5% margin, or about nearly 70 lakhs business with about 10% margin. So that's how we can raise the resources. Based on that, we also need to make a capital requirements plan, how much money we can get. Today, based on the share capital, you can get about 5 to 10 times loan. So unless if you want to have a loan of 50 lakh rupees, you need to have at least 5 lakh rupees as your share capital. So if you want to have a 1 crore rupees loan, you need to have at least 10 lakh rupees as your share capital. If you want to have say 7 lakh rupees as share capital, you need to have at least shareholders as 700 if the shareholding is about 1000 rupees. So these 3 or 4 issues are very interlinked. So in 5 years period, how many members we reach, how much share capital we raise, and what kind of margin in business we expect is what one need to make a plan, based on which sustainability plans can be done. In addition, the new emerging market for soil organic carbon also gives additional resources for FPOs and farmers who are shifting towards organic natural farming. And the soil organic carbon assessment can be done using satellite map. A 0.1% increase in the soil organic carbon leads to sequestration of 2.9 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So here farmers can be whoever are practicing for the sustainable agriculture practices, organic and natural farming can be registered. So what we are trying to do is we provide farmer field schools training and advisory services to the farmers, and data about the farmers, their fields, crops grown and the practices followed is collected. And this data is verified by the voluntary carbon market supporting agencies, and then estimation of soil organic carbon is done using the satellite imagery, and field inspection is done whether the standards are followed or not, and then linked to the carbon market. So the last 4 years, the data shows that from 85,000 acres of land which is verified, we could see that nearly 0.1% increase of soil organic carbon is seen every year, which is equal to nearly 3 tons. So 3 tons is equal to 3 credits. Per credit today the price is around $10. So 3 tons gives us around $30 per acre. So this is a kind of ecosystem services also can be accessed if the farmers are organized into cooperatives or groups. And individual groups also can access. Individual farmers accessing such support services becomes very, very difficult. In addition to these services, we also offer support services for other FPOs across the country. You can check for the support services provided by CSA at epivohub.com, both in terms of for sales, inputs, and then support services. We have various modules which are available. There's also an ERP system for FPOs where FPOs can manage their entire data easily. And particularly for the organic farmers, we provide 6 kinds of services: extension services, setting up bio enterprises, diagnostic services in terms of identifying the problems and then supporting the shift. And we also provide support for food processing, market linkages, and PGS certification. Thank you very much.